what makes a discussion philosophical. And so we need some clues as to how we identify philosophical concepts. I've said to you that we're really interested in assertions or propositions, but every proposition that will be interesting philosophically will have in it some concept which is contestable. What is particularly interesting about philosophical concepts is they have these three features that I'm going to describe to you now. So they're not necessarily terribly complex concepts, they are very common concepts. So these are the three C's which will help you identify big ideas or philosophical concepts. So they're very common. They're common to virtually all humanity. I mean, there'll be outliers, but virtually all humanity will deploy these concepts. So not all human beings talk about televisions, but all human beings will talk about love. Or less all human beings. Not 100%, but... So, in whatever culture you talk about, whatever age group, even the little babies, even the elderly, the sophisticated ones, they will all talk about love. So common to all people. The second feature is that they are central to the lives of any individual. So in your life, you will, during your daily routine, you'll be concerned about whether you are loving somebody or something. It'll be one way of you, one very salient feature of how you think about your daily experience. The other feature is that it is contestable. You will be talking about, human beings have been talking about what is love for 2,500 years, maybe 3,000 years, I don't know, 10,000 years. So that we are unsettled as to what sometimes there are instances of human behaviour we don't understand whether they're loving or not. We have to think about it, talk about it. It's not clear cut as in the way we can easily decide whether that's a camera or not. We don't sort of get confused. So the contestable nature of these. So they're the three features: common, central and contestable. Love is one example, time is another. You can't help operating in your daily life without thinking about time. You structure your day. Most people, 99% of people will do this. They will be considering time. Different civilizations also have concepts of time. They differ. The concepts are different in some respects, but they nonetheless all have them. Yep. Human beings can't help but think in terms of time and space. As an individual, as a culture, and yet, if I asked you what time was, you'd have a lot of difficulty telling me what does time mean. And you may argue about what it means. So there's not really settled view as to what time means. So now what I want you to do is to come up with your own examples of contestable or philosophical big ideas. And when I said to you they're common, I was trying to explain they're not big words like epistemological or phenomenological. They're not the kinds of words we're interested in. They're technical words. For philosophy, the big ideas are these simple four-letter words almost. They're very short words. So let's just go quickly around the room and see whether we're all on board and come up with your own example. So we'll start here. An example. I've given you three so far. Okay, can we have start here? So, I want you to give me some more examples of big ideas or philosophical ideas. Yay!
Justice.
Very good. I'm just going to make it short. This is what we're trying to say. Identity? Okay, good one. I can't really... Oh, is there a short way of using that? A short way of making a short concept relation to that? Sometimes I just go self. Self might be it, yeah. Maybe. Not necessarily, but that's just trying to, yeah, come on, you come up with happy, yeah. That's what we make it little. Happiness, yep.
Freedom, success.
Success. Good. And free. Beauty. Smart? Okay. Someone, one up the back. Anyone up the back got different idea? Fear.
Relationship.
Light.
God. G-O-D, God.
Oh, God. Okay, nice. All right. Now, what we're going to do with this is we can categorize these concepts into some of the basic branches of philosophy. So with philosophy, there are supposedly, an easy way of looking at it is there are four or five different branches of philosophy, and it's good for you to have your head around those when you're working with children, so you know that you're keeping in a certain zone some of the time at least. So some of these concepts are concerned with what we call ethics. Now the key concept there is probably good. So what is good is the key idea when you're studying ethics. With epistemology, what is it to know? What can we say we know things, we know what's happening in another part of the world we've never been to, or we know that 1 and 1 equals 2, or we know our names, or we know so many things, but it's a very interesting concept. So epistemology is questions relating to what is to know, and metaphysics is related to the big idea of what is real. So is time real? Is God real? They come under that sort of concept, but under that sort of category. Aesthetics. You can probably guess which one here belongs to aesthetics. Beauty. And then there's logic. This is just roughly the 5 great categories of. So logic would be, is it valid? Maybe with epistemology, the key might even be is a true key concept. The heart of that branch of philosophy. So that means if your students sort of are very concerned about beauty, you might look to investigating the study of aesthetics to give you some background into what their concerns are, or if they're concerned about good, or some of these belong in here clearly, love and happiness, good, that sort of thing, then you know you're in the realm of ethics, and you can go to literature in ethics to just increase your understanding of that field. What's true and knowledge, you look at epistemology. So these are kind of, they're not concepts you necessarily have to give your students, but they're doorways into the classical philosophical tradition. And it means that it gives you a way of categorising the students' questions, because you might find one book is read, or one stimulus material, half of the students are asking questions in the ethical field, and the others might be asking these kind of questions. So you've got to deal with them separately, unless you find connections between them. But a good starting point is to enable students to see those questions are all concerned with quality of human life, and these questions are all concerned with what is true, or how can you know that something's true, and those kind of issues. So any questions about this one? So So our next step is when you're providing any stimulus material, you're going to identify what the major ideas are in it beforehand, before you go to class. You don't necessarily have to decide I'm going to talk about happiness, but when you have a stimulus material, you think to yourself, what are these big ideas that the students are likely to want to investigate? So you step back a little bit, but you do still try and figure out what are the kind of concepts they're going to come up with, which give them a little bit of freedom to choose rather than deciding in advance. Today we're going to discuss beauty. You might give them something which gives them an opportunity to look at beauty, or alternatively to look at an ethical issue. So this is all part of setting up this creative inquiry process, where there's freedom for the children to move and to decide the kinds of problems that concern them in the first place, so they own it themselves.